Welcome everyone. Today's Amud is Daf Yad.b, Amud Aleph, where it's at the bottom of the Gimel Amud base. We are in the first wide line in the Gimel Amud base. So till now, recap, there's three opinions of the Tanaim who gets Malkus. Rabbi Kiva says, anyone who is Chayv Kares, if the Issa is done with Eidim and Asra, you give him Malkus. This is how we've been learning till now. Rabbi Shmuel says, similarly, someone's over Chayv Mises based in, he'll get Malkus, and we saw it's got Misa Rich, he'll get Malkus and Mises based in. He gets both. And also for Kares, he'll get Malkus. And we saw Rabbi Yitzchak says that he doesn't get Malkus for Kares. If he's over Issa Kares, there's never Malkus. That's how the Gemara learned until now. And the Gemara is going to come along with Rava's opinion. Rava Amar. Isru Bey le-Katala. They gave him Hasra for Katala. So it works like this. A person has to have a warning before he does any Aveira in order to get the punishment. Witnesses have to tell him, if you are Mechal Shabbos, you're going to get Malkus, you're going to get Misa. They've got to specify what the punishment is going to be. It's not enough just to say what you're going to do is Asa, they have to say what the punishment is. And if he now goes out and eats the pig, after they said don't eat pig, then they'll give him Malkus. But they've got to say, if you eat the pig, you get Malkus, then they give him Malkus. They've got to say, you can't be Mechal Shabbos, if you are, you're going to get Misa, then they give him Misa. If they say you're going to, so now we're going to see. Rava says, Isru Beile Katala, if they warned him, they said, if you do this Avera, if you Mechal Shabbos, you're going to get killed. Katala, we're going to kill you. Kula amalai pligi de'ein like a mace. Everyone agrees that you don't get Malkus and Misa, as opposed to what we learned till now. The opinion till now was that Kunta Rabbi Shmuel, you get both Malkus and Misa. But here he says, no, if you want them, you're going to get Misa, no one argues. You don't get Malkus and Misa. What do you get? You get just Misa. They said you're going to get Misa. You give him Misa. Why should you give this poor guy Malkus? Did they tell him he's going to get Malkus? No. They said, if you Mechal Shabbos, you're going to get Misa. According to the Gemara till now, give him also Malkus. Throw it in there, free of charge. We'll give him also Malkus. He'll really learn his lesson, right?
1 second, don't we have a concept that if we have the stringent punishment, we don't give the more lenient together with it?
Right, yeah.
So, I think.
But so we saw Rabbi Shmuel, L'chairi, he says it's only by Misa and Mammon. If someone does something where he's Chayv Misa and he's also Chayv Mammon at the same time, so let's say he stole something on Shabbos
and then killed. So
if he stole something on Shabbos which he's Chayv Misa for,
okay.
Well, let's say he kills someone, but at the same time he ruins his shirt, he doesn't have to pay him $10 for the shirt at the same time as for killing him. They just give him Misa and that's it. He doesn't have to pay for the damages. Since he's being killed, he's put on the moment. Right? But here, till now the Gemara is saying, according to Rabbi Shmuel, we're going to give him Misa and Malkus, Misa Richtehi. That's what Gemara said. It's one long Misa. It's not. You're right. The question is you don't give him two. The Gemara says it's not two. It's one. It's one long one. It's one big one. But by moment, it's not one big one. It's two separate things. But Malkus is you're already starting to kill him.
So what's the normal Misa that he's getting?
What's your question?
Or is the capital punishment that he's getting for Hilul
For Chol Shabbos, Skila, we'll kill him.
Skila.
Yeah. But according to Rabbi Shmuel, you also give him Malkus. You throw it in
before.
there. Yeah,
just
I guess before they kill him. Afterwards, it's not going to help too much. But
exactly.
Give him Malkus also. That's how Rabbi Shmuel learns. Rabbi Kiva says, no, of course, you don't give two. That's how the Gemara learned. Until now, you never give two. Today, Rishasai, we don't give a guy two punishments. He says, Rabbi Shmuel says, it's one punishment. So now Rabbi Kiva is saying, there's no machleka, there's no dispute between them. If the Asra was for Misa, if the Asra is for Misa, everyone agrees. You do not enact both punishments. You only get Misa. So what's the machlekes Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Yitzchak? Ki pligi the Isru Beile Malkus. These Eidim, the people that gave Asra, they gave the wrong Asra. Instead of saying we're going to kill you, you're going to get killed, they said you should know if you Mechal Shabbos, you're going to get Malkus, right? And he does the Aveira. So now what's it then? You can't give him Misa because they didn't want him for Misa. The question is now, can you give him Malkus? That's the question. So, Ki pligi the Isrubele Makos. They told him, don't do this, you're going to get Makos. So Rabbi Shmuel Savar. Rabbi Shmuel holds Lav Shenitin Las Horas Bis is based in, like in Olav. Any time that there's a Mises basin that's struck to the end, you could get Malchus. If you give the Hasra for Malchus, you could give Malchus. You'd give him on the base, the bottom, third wide line. But Rabbi Kiva Savar, and Rabbi Kiva says no, Lav Shenitin Las Horas Bis is basin ain't like in Olav. So that's the fundamental machlokes between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Kiva. The case is, the guy's about to be Mechal Shabbos. He's about to do Avodah Zarah, and instead of the Asra being, don't do this, you're going to get killed, they told him, don't do this, you're going to get Malchus. Mm-hmm. So what's the din? Can you give him Malchus or can you not give him Malchus? Rabbi Shmuel says you can give him Malchus. Mm-hmm. Since they gave him Asra for Malchus, and you're not killing him, give him Malchus. Rabbi Kiva says, no, you can't give Malchus. Because the punishment is death. There's no punishment of Malchus over here. That's the Chayil Machlaik. So Lefi Rova, there's never going to be Misa and Malchus Lefi Rabbi Shmuel. The first till yesterday how we learned the Gemara was you get both Misa and Malchus. Comes along now and he says there's no Misa and Malchus. You never get both. The question is when you're only going to get one, can you get just Malchus for Isser Misa? Okay, says the Gemara. Rabbi Kiva, so according to Rabbi Kiva now, according to Rabbi Kiva, that you don't get Malchus when there's a Azhara for Malchus, where there's something with a Mises based in. So Ihachi, Chayve Krisis Nami. Why should Krisis be different than Mises based in? Lav Shenitelasos Karasu. So that's the Lav in the Torah. It says, don't be Mechal Shabbos. You need that Lav to tell me that he's Chayv Kares. So why should you get Malchus for the Issa Kares? Rabbi Kiva says you get Malchus for Kares. And the author of Mishnah is Rabbi Kiva, where it's all the Isurim in the Mishnah are Kares. So why would Rabbi Kiva say you get Malchus for Issa Kares? The Lav in the Mishnah, the Lav in the Torah, when it says don't be Mechal Shabbos, you need that. Or don't eat Chometz on Pesach. You need that to tell me you get Kares. How do you know you get Malchus for it? How do you know you get Malchus for Issa Kares? We need the Azhara. So, says the Gemara, Amalei Rav Mardechai Rav Ashi, Hachyama Vimi, Magrania, Mishmei Derava. This is what Rava actually said. Chayve Krisis, Leitzrichi Asra. You don't need Asra for Chayv Krisis. Massive Chiddush. We know that every time the general rule is, any time the Torah gives you a punishment, you need two things. You need the Azhara and Einish and Azhara. It's got to say, don't do this. And if you do this, there's an Einish, there's a punishment. The punishment is Misa, the punishment is Kares, punishment is this. So you need both to say. It's got to say, don't do, the Azhara, the warning. And then, what's the punishment? Mm-hmm. So says Rava, you don't need a warning for Chayve Krisos. Why? How would you know that? Shahare, he has a proof. And therefore what? So what's his Nakuda here? You don't need a warning for Chayve Krisis. So therefore when it says in Torah, don't eat Chametz on Pesach, now you can use that to give Malchus. Again, the question is how according to Rabbi Kiva do you get Malchus for Issa Kares? Why would you get Malchus for Issa Kares? So says Rava, because you don't need the warning for the Kares Shabbai. You don't need the warning to tell me you get Kares. Why? Sharei. We know that Pesach or Milah, there's two mitzvahs in the Torah where you get Kares if you don't do. The only two mitzvahs. Everything else is you've got to be over a loisa, say. But these two mitzvahs of eating the korban Pesach and having a bris milah, if you don't do these two mitzvahs, you chayv Kares on. Okay. So these two mitzvahs you chayv Kares on. Einesh afa pi shalei hisir. These two mitzvahs, there's a chiv Kares on it, even though there's no lois essay, there's no warning in the Torah. Lois essay, don't, because there's a mitzvah essay. So you see that you get kares even without an azara. you see that you can get kores even without a warning, a loisa say. So, says the Gemara. So, now the Gemara asks, maybe the warning over there by Pesach, maybe the warning by the Issachar is the carbon. Anytime the Torah says by Issachar, loy, don't do this, so you don't need to tell me get kares. But and we want to say that loy, don't eat Pesach on don't eat chametz on Pesach. We want to say use that now for Makos. The Gemara says no. Maybe we need that pasuk not for Makos, you need it for carbon. When the Torah says don't do this in this Avera, obviously it's not for Kores, because Pesach HaMilah doesn't have a loy, and you get Kores anyway. But maybe the loy isn't for Malchus. The loy is for carbon. Don't eat chametz at Pesach. If you do, you bring a carbon. Don't eat on Yom Kippur, because if you do, you bring a carbon. The carbon, that's the warning, is for a carbon. You got to bring a carbon. Why? Pesach HaMilah. By Pesach HaMilah, the loy. The leispu ashara. Pesach HaMilah, there is no warning. There is no ashara. Loy maisi carbon. There is no carbon if you don't bring a carbon Pesach. If a guy doesn't get a bris milah, there's no carbon. A guy doesn't bring a carbon Pesach, there's no carbon. He's chayv kares. End of story, right? So maybe the lav, the ashara, by the other various, don't be mechal Shabbos, don't eat Yom Kippur. You need that to tell me you have to bring a carbon if you do. So in other words, by Pesach HaMilah, there is no loy, there is no ashara, because you don't bring a carbon. But everywhere else, where there is ashara, you bring a carbon. Awesome. By Pesach HaMilah, the Gemara is now answering. Awesome. Lava nitaima elamishum the iskishkala Torah kula lavaitis kechavim. Why is there no carbon by Pesach HaMilah? If a guy doesn't bring carbon Pesach, if doesn't get a bris milah, why is there no carbon? I'll tell you why. Because there's a hekesh, the whole Torah to avodas kechavim, to idolatry. Ma avodas kechavim sheiv al tai. So the Torah says, don't be over the avodas kechavim. If you do, bring a carbon. Afkal sheiv val taisa. Similarly, only if a person does something that's a sheiv val taisa, don't do this. He has to bring a carbon. Lafukahani to come by essay. Pesach HaMilah is active. It's a mitzvah, but it's about active mitzvah. You don't have to bring a carbon if you don't do it. When do you bring a carbon? If you did something wrong, not if you're passive. Mm-hmm. There's no carbon for being passive. I'm not getting involved. There's no carbon. I'm not doing it. No carbon. If you did an affair, you went out and you did a physical activity, so then you have to bring a carbon. So, Ravina Amar, we're in the last line over here. Ravina Amar, La'ilam Kida Amran. Really, he doesn't like this whole Ravas Mahalach. Kida Amran. Mi'ikara, originally. That what? What's a machlekes, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Kiva, and Rabbi Yitzchak again? Rabbi Kiva says there's Malchus by Kares. Rabbi Shmuel says there's Malchus by Mises Basin also. And Rabbi Yitzchak says there's never Malchus for any Misa. Like the Rag Mekar. Shem also tshuva, if the guy does tshuva, Basin Shamala Meichnahem. Basin can forgive him. Right? Basin can forgive a guy. That's why by Kares, which is a punishment in Basin Shalmala, he could do tshuva. So he's only going to get one einish now. He's only going to get Malchus. The problem is, again, he's back to giving the guy two einshim. Shemasa tshuva Basin Shalmala Meichnahem. So, but the Gemara asks, "My amras halayov tshuva." But right now, you're giving the guy Malchus and still sitting on the side of Chiyav Kares. He didn't do tshuva yet. Mm-hmm. That was a kasha originally. That was what was bothering over here with this mahalach, right? Halayov tshuva. The guy didn't do tshuva. How are you giving this guy Malchus? Now he's going to get two averis. Maybe he's not going to do tshuva. Maybe he'll die tomorrow. He's not going to do tshuva, and he's going to get Malchus and Misa, Malchus and Kares. And we know it says what the pasuk says. Only one einish, only one punishment. So the Gemara answers, Loi psika milsa lekares. In the end of the day, we don't know for sure he's going to get kares. It's not a done deal. He might do tshuva, right? And when does it say? Rashi says hayavu tole b'tshuva. He might do tshuva. So when is it also to give a guy 2 punishments? If you know you're going to give the guy 2 punishments, you're going to give the guy Malkus and you give the guy Misa, that's a problem. But if the guy might do tshuva on kares, there's no problem. Give the guy Malkus, he might do tshuva, and end the story. There is no kares. So there's no problem with that. Kidei Rishasa means you can't give for sure 2 punishments. But if it's a suffix, you give the guy 2 punishments. It's interesting, Stam. It's not such a technical issue, but when it comes to, it doesn't say Shem also tshuva, HaKadosh Baruch Hu moichalehem. It's like basic Shamala. It's like, so to speak, Hashem's out of the picture. There's a justice system. Hashem set up a justice system, right? And he could do tshuva, and then basic Shamala, he'll be forgiven. It's not Yimchalai. It's Meichlin. They forgive him in Shemayim. There's a whole, there's a court system up there. They will forgive him. You do tshuva. Okay, says the Gemara. So far we have, now, but Rabbi Yitzchak, why would Rabbi Yitzchak say that you never get Malkus? So why would Rabbi Yitzchak say you don't get Malkus by Kares? Rabbi Yitzchak, you don't get Malkus. Why? Bichlal hayu, because there was a klal in the pasuk that said, "V'nichus ukal nefashos ha'aises." Everyone gets Kares and you do all the various of Arayas. V'lama yatzis Kares b'achaisa. There's a separate mention of Kares in the Issa of Achaisa, someone that has relations with his sister. Why? Laduna b'Kares v'lei b'Malkus. The Torah is saying, by Achaisa, give him Kares and don't give him Malkus. The Torah specifically says, Malkus by Achaisa, to tell me to give him Kares and not Malkus. So it's basically Xeris Kosev. According to Rabbi Yitzchak, you're right. You would think you should give this guy Malkus by Kares. Because of Ktei Rishasai, there's only one punishment. But the Torah specifically says, Achaisai, to tell me give him Kares and not Malkus. Don't touch the guy. So Rabbanon, Kares b'Achaisai. So according to Rabbanon then, why do you need the pasuk of Kares b'Achaisai? What are they going to learn with this? Why did the Torah mention Kares b'Achaisai? The Moran says lechalek. We're going to see what lechalek means. Lechalek means to split them up, to make each issa an issa by itself, to individualize each one. A person was over all these averas. He takes 15 narayas, he does them all behelem echad. Meaning, Rashi says he was a shaygeg, b'shkaga. He didn't know it's asa. He didn't know this is bia. He made some type of shkaga, right? He didn't realize these are all his family. He thought he was adopted. He didn't realize that this is all his family. All of a sudden, he's like, oh my gosh, all my sisters, right? And my aunt, and my uncle, and whatever it is, right? B'shkaga echad. So what's it then? Someone was by all these arayas, b'shkaga, behelem echad. So chayav akol achas v'achas. He has to bring a carbon for each arayas that he was boiled, right? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you might think you did it all in one behelem echad, make one mistake, bring one carbon. So, for example, if a guy doesn't realize he's on Shabbos, he does a bunch of his service, he doesn't realize it's all asa. Maybe he only gets to bring one carbon. He was Michal Shabbos. The Issa was one Shabbos. Maybe he has to bring one carbon. So, but Rabbi Yitzchak is saying, the pasuk is coming to tell me, just like there's Issa Kares b'Achaisai, that's like one specific case. He has to bring a carbon if he's over that avera. So similarly, he would have to bring a carbon if he's over all of them b'shoigeg. So chayv b'kol achas v'achas, or he's chayv mis of each one if he does it individually. Now that's how Rabbanon are going to learn. For Rabbi Yitzchak l'chalek medali. So how does Rabbi Yitzchak know that for each one you get a separate punishment? Nafkelei, a different pasuk, says v'isha al isha ben nidlas to masa. Isha ben nidlas to masa. And it could just say the isha nida like tikarev. Why does it say isha ben nidlas? We know we're talking about a woman here. Why does it mention isha? L'chayev al kol isha v'isha. Tell me the chayev for each individual woman. L'chalek basically. So now we've got two ways to learn out l'chalek. Either from, according to Rabbanon, from Achaisai, Kares b'Achaisai, or because it says El Isha. Also, Gemara Rabbanon Nami typically Mahai. So once you have this pasuk with Isha, El Isha benidus to Masa, why does Rabbanon not learn out from here? Why do they learn out from the other pasuk of Achaisai? Gemara answers, and Nachanami, you're right. They do learn it from here. You're right, you got me. They learn that from the same pasuk of Elisha. So what are they going to do now with the chaisai? We're back to the same question. So why do they have kares b'chaisai? So a different case. If someone takes three different women, Rashi says we're talking about here, his sister from his sister, his father's sister, and his mother's sister. There are three sisters. His sister, his father's sister, his mother's sister. He takes all three of them. He has a rights with all three of them. He's chayv for all three of them. Gemara's pshita, that's pashut. Ari gufim muchalakim. There's three different women here. Ari shemus muchalakim. There's different averis also. It's not just three women. One is Issa. It says in the pasuk achaisai. There's an achaisave, achaisimai. There's three different psukim, three different women. Of course, you get three different punishments. Gemara answers. A lot of droshes today. Today's a droshes Gemara, my favorite subject. Pshita, Hari Shemus Cholakim, Ela Chayvai, Ala Chaysai, Shi Achaysavev, Shi Achaysimoi. Oh, the Gemara comes out with one of these great cases. What do you need the pasuk of Achaysai for? To tell me a completely unshchiach case, but I guess that's what to learn from it. That what? Someone takes his sister, who's also his father's sister and also his mother's sister. It's one woman, Rachel, it's his sister, it's also his father's sister, and it's also his mother's sister. I see you pulling faces like, what's the case? So take a look in Rashi, Bereshia Barashia. It's 2 lines above where we are in the Gemara. Bereshia Barashia. What's the case? Crazy case. Habal Imai. A guy has relations with his mother. Not the best guy in town. He has relations with his mother. He gets unlucky. V'hailet shtei bonus. He has 2 daughters with his mother. Right? He has 2 daughters. So, again, Reuven has relations with his mother, Rivka. Right? And then shtei bonus. He has 2 daughters, Rachel and Leah. Then, then he has relations with Rachel. V'hailet ben. And then that relation he had with Rachel, he has a son called David, right? Ben, this David guy, al achos imoi, has relations with his mother's sister, she achoisai v'achoisaviv. It's also his sister, it's his mother's sister, and it's his father's sister, all at the same time. Charming story. I guess they live down south, these people, right? Well, so that's what you need this pasuk to tell me. This pasuk is coming to tell me that this guy who marries his mother has 2 daughters, right? He has a relationship with his mother, has 2 daughters. So now his daughter is his mother's sister. No, sorry, it's not his mother's sister. Then that relation, he has a son with one of the daughters. Now he has relations with his sister, his half sister, and he has a son. Now that son has relations with basically it's his sister, it's his mother's sister, and it's his father's sister.
Yeah.
Gewaldig. Good yichus. So that's what this pasuk of Achais is coming to tell me. If you can be over all 3 averis in one, and he's chayiv 3 korbanos. He has 1 ma'aseh, but there's 3 achaisais. He's got to bring 3 korbanos. He's chayiv 3 serkaris, this guy. This Davido. For Rabbi Yitzchak, Haminale. How does Rabbi Yitzchak know this? How does Rabbi Yitzchak know that this guy, David over here, is chayiv? I mean, maybe he's not chayiv according to Rabbi Yitzchak, but the Gemara is assuming that we know that we're trying to make as little machlekes as we can between Rish Lakish. You don't want to have to say, oh yeah, so there's going to be a machlekes over here also. We want to assume that there isn't a machlekes between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Kiva in other cases where they don't mention it. So we're going to assume that he also holds that you're chayiv in this case, right? So Rabbi Yitzchak, how does he know this? Because he's using a chaysai to tell me lechalek, right? Rabbi Yitzchak Manale, Nafklei Mekava Chaymer. He gets it from the famous principle of Kava Chaymer. Titania, there's a brisa. Amar Rabbi Kiva. Sha'alt is Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Yeshua Be'itlis. Interesting Gemara, historical Gemara. Rabbi Kiva asked Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua Be'itlis Shal Imus. I think this is the butchers in Russia's Makos Shemeichim Basar B'Makulin. I don't know what that means, B'Makulin. So he asked him in the butcher, I think, right? So he meets his friends in the butcher. He starts asking him kashas. It's interesting, like why would the Gemara spell out what the whole story, why he was in the butcher? He was in the butcher to get meat for his Mishnah B'nai Rabbi Gamliel. Okay. So he asked him, Rabbi Kiva asked him this question. This guy has relations with his mother, with his aunt, and with his aunt from his mother. Mao, what's the din? Do we say that he's chayiv only one? Read the brackets. He's only chayiv one carbon. Or is he chayiv three? He was over three averis, eh? He's chayiv for three. Good kasha, we don't know. You hear the great Tanai, they said we don't know. I guess maybe it's telling you, learn how to say you don't know. People ask you questions, you think like, oh, I've got to know everything. No, didn't have Google. Like Shemanu, we don't know. Aval, I'll tell you what we do know. Shemanu, I'll tell you a different case. Haba al chamesh nashim nidais. Behela mechad. This guy, he doesn't know nidas also. He forgets that you can't be bala nida. And he takes 5 nida women. I don't know why 5, but that's the case. What about 6? 6 not? I don't know. How about chamesh nashim nidas behela mechad? Shechai v'kalachas v'achas. You got to bring 5 karbanos. I'm desperate to hear it too. It's why dafka 5, why not 3, why not 2, why not 10?
Just an example, I guess.
Yeah, but if there's a story that happened, why is this normally a story? A guy, he took 5 noshim nidas, but why pick just number 5? Haba chamesh noshim nidas behelem echad shechai v'kalachas v'achas. He's chayiv 5 karbanos. So here it's talking about there's one issa, right? Nida. It's not like a chaysay, achasav, achazimai, which is 3 different issa. It's one issa, but there's 5 women. Till now we spoke about case 1 woman with 3 isurim. That they say we don't know. 1 woman with 3 isurim we don't know. But 3 isurim, or 5 women with 1 isurim we do know. Chamesh hashim behelel echad, shechai v'kalachas v'achas, he's chayiv for each one. V'nirin devarim mekavachayme. Now let's learn out a kavachayme. Uman nida, shishem echad, nida's 1 issa, chayiv v'kalachas v'achas. He's chayiv for each woman, a carbon. Here, by this guy who marries his mother, his sister, and his aunt all at the same time, right? There's 3 different isurim. Shleish shemus like koshken. For sure, he should be chayav and bring 3 korbanos. The other mandama holds that's not kavachayma. Kavachayma has to be this. If this is chayav, that's for sure chayav. And they ask, surely ein anshim in adin, but it's not ein. We're talking about karbanos here, so there's no problem with ein anshim in adin, right? We're talking about, do you bring a carbon? You can't give a guy malchus with kavachayma, but you can make a guy bring a carbon with kavachayma. Then a kavachayma perchi. Perchi means there's a kasha on this kavachayma. The what? Mala nida shekain gufim b'cholakim. By nida, he does 5 maisim, 5 different women. There's 5 different people here, so of course you get 5 punishments. But with this guy, he takes his mother and his aunt at the same time. That's 1 woman. There's gufim muchalakim. V'lidach nami. Of course, he agrees that this is not a good kavachayim. Everyone agrees this kavachayim is out. This is not a good kavachayim. Ella nafkalei. So how do you know this guy takes his sister and his aunt all at the same time? Nafkalei machaysai the sefer. At the end of the pasuk, it says there's another achaysai. It says, let's read the pasuk inside. The end of the pasuk says, "V'nichusu le'ene b'nei Adam ervas achaysai gila avayniyasa." It says again, ervas achaysai gila avayniyasa. It could just say, I guess, we know we're talking about his sister. It could say ervasa gila. What do you mean ervas achaysai gila? We're talking about achaysai. It says, "If isha sheikach achaysai basaviv basimai v'ray vasa." He takes his ervas achaisai. It could just say ervas agila, which means ervas achaisai gila. We ain't talking about achaisai. What's this extra word for? It's not telling me anything. So what's this extra word telling me? Achaisai gila. That machaisai the sefer. That what? This extra word achaisai is going to tell me that Yischayv, even if he has 3 achaisais in the same woman, Yischayv each achaisai. He takes a woman, his sister 3 times over, there's 3 different achaisais. V'idach, the other man, the Omar, Rabbi Yitzchak the Hainu. What's he going to say? Achaisai the sefer lamali. Why does Rabbi Yitzchak need this achaisai the sefer? Rabbi Yitzchak uses this pasuk l'chalek, so what does he need achaisai the sefer for? This achaisai l'chayra is completely extra. So he needs this pasuk to tell me a different din. The Torah says a guy takes someone who's his sister from his father or his sister from his mother. Right? So you might think, Loimar shein einshem min adin. Sorry, I stopped too early. Loimar shein einshem min adin. So what's this achaisa telling me? Achaisa, it's a sister. However, she's a sister from his father, sister, the sister from his mother, sister from his father. Either way, it's asa. You might think that you're only chayav if he takes his half sister from his father, or his sister from his mother, but not if it's his full sister. Says achaisa, his full sister you also chayav for. And why don't you know this from a kal v'chaymer? So l'chayav is what it's saying. Lo yimashei nashim min adin. Achais is coming to tell me this is where we know the principle of Ein Anshe Min Adin, meaning this is where we know the principle that you never give a punishment from a Kal V'chayma. You can't say, if a half sister you chayv Malkus for, or you chayv Kares, you chayv Karban for, so for sure a full sister, the guy takes his full sister, of course he gets his chayv Misa for. No. We don't give a guy a punishment from a Kal V'chayma. You can't say, a half sister you chayv, for sure, full sister you chayv. Ein Anshe Min Adin. You can't give a guy punishment. That's why he has to say achaisai at the end to tell me that even if he is a full sister, you still get punished, not just a half sister. Ve'idach, we'll just finish the end of the page. Ve'idach, what does Ibai say? Magama Anish Ma'asara. Ibai say Me'nafkele Machaisai. The other mandama holds that. How do I know you get a punishment by a full sister? Because there's an ashara by a full sister. You're right, there's no punishment specifically. The Torah doesn't say the punishment by a full sister. But the Torah does give a warning by a full sister. Right, you take a look in Rashi, we don't have time, but take a look at the bottom Rashi, he says what the pasuk is. There is a warning by a full sister, and once you know the warning by a full sister, so we'll learn that you also get the same punishment by a full sister. The alternative you can learn for achaisa the reisha. There's extra achaisa in the beginning. We'll see this tomorrow, next year, Be'ez Hashem. Thank you very much.